Welcome back to another episode of the Many Faces of Cancer podcast. I am your host, Melissa Grosboll, and joining me today is Michael Griffith. And Michael is a New Zealand-based cancer recovery coach and former CEO with a background in high-performance sport. After navigating his own throat cancer diagnosis and treatment and supporting his wife through a terminal cancer journey, he saw a gap that few people talk about: what happens after treatment ends. Michael works primarily with men who are used to performing in life, are medically cleared, but don't feel physically or mentally back to themselves after cancer treatment. His approach focuses on rebuilding strength, energy, and confidence through a structured, performance-based framework. He is the founder of Epic Wellbeing, where he helps people move beyond survival and return to a life that feels capable again. So welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I am so glad to have you on, and you and I are really kindred spirits. We have a similar passion for the clients that we work with, and I am always happy to talk to people who want to help people get back to living their lives the way that they should.
Yeah, I mean it's such a difficult thing. I mean, particularly for people on the outside of the cancer, let's call it cancer community. They just don't understand the multitude of challenges that when you've been through cancer, you go through, and there's different stages, and you've got that pre-cancer where you're sort of going through diagnostic stage, and then when you get told what you yes, confirm that you do have cancer, and then going through treatment, and then you've got the okay, now treatment's over and I'm, I guess, medically cleared. What now? I mean, it's a celebratory point in your life, but also for many of us, that's when the real work starts, because you want to get back to how you were before you were diagnosed.
Right. And I've talked with several people on this podcast about that, and people have called it many different things, that period of time after treatment, after active treatment ends. Some people have referred to it as falling off a cliff. Some people
Yeah.
have referred to it as the void, because it's this period of, you've had structured doctor's appointments and everything scheduled for so long, and you've had all of this support and people checking in on you. And then
Hmm.
after treatment is done, and then what?
Exactly.
You're not necessarily back to 100%. You still can use the support. You don't know where to turn because you don't have your life scheduled. And here we are. And some people go through a pretty serious depression and
Yeah.
downtime because of that, not from a mental standpoint, not even a physical standpoint. I don't know if you notice that too in the people that you coach.
Look, I notice it in the people I coach, but also I guess where the concept for epic wellbeing came from was my own journey through that. Is, prior to being diagnosed and going through treatment, I was like everyone is, fit and healthy, and there's all different levels of being fit and healthy. But you're absolutely right. You go through that process of, yes, you've got treatment, you turn up, you have it. Um, Probably like everybody, I know I was just focused on what's the next one, what's the next one, what's the next one. Okay, here we are at the end of this. Then you wait a little while, go in and have final tests, and it's like, yay, I'm all clear. Now what? And you're absolutely right. Everything, the world changes then, because you aren't, doesn't matter what level of treatment you've had, whether it's chemo, radiation, immunotherapy, all sorts of things. It's all of that is taken away, not taken away, but it disappears and you're left to your own devices. And it is really, really tough, because no one talks about what it's going to be like afterwards and how do you get through it. And the difficulty around that, Melissa, is everyone is different, because how you come out of your cancer treatment depends so much on what your treatment was, but more so what I've noticed is how you were physically before you went into the treatment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's amazing. When I was first diagnosed and went through treatment and was finished, my goal was to be as healthy as possible, so my body is an inhospitable host for cancer. And I shared that out to the world. And as I started interviewing people for this podcast and learning that, some of the healthiest people on the planet were
Yeah.
getting diagnosed with cancer. And it just totally turned my world upside down because it's like, well, I can do all of the right things and that's
Uh-huh.
not going to stop cancer from coming back. And I
Yep.
mean, you deal with
Yep.
high performance people. Have you kind of noticed that as well? Plus, yourself, you were super healthy.
You're absolutely right. I have a slightly different view on life in terms of what's going to happen is going to happen. And
I'm
my
learning that.
view, yeah, my view is, like life is a journey, and everyone is served up different things that we have to navigate and work through. But you're right in that sense of you get to the end of it, and that's why I focus on high performing men. So it's not sporting performance that tend to be more of my clients. It's more business orientated people that are performing at a high level in business because they are go go go. I can conquer the world. I'm telling everybody what to do all day. Then you get hit with cancer, and the world changes. So they focus on that to start with. Then they get better, and it's like, right, okay, let's get back into it, and they can't. And so it varies for everybody at that point, is what I'm seeing. Again, it's a bit of a mental game, and some people think they can toughen out. And it's like, oh, I just need to toughen up and be mentally stronger. As you know, with your own journey, that doesn't work because no 2 days are the same when you're on that recovery journey. And so it has to be, and that's why my coaching is one-on-one, because it depends where people are at. Some people, it's much more about just talking with them and they need someone to talk to because they are CEOs of businesses, and it's a bit like, well, I can't show my weakness to anybody. So me being male to male, having been in that sort of that role, understanding what the pressures that they're under, we can move aside all that business stuff and have a real sort of guy to guy talk about what is really going on. And actually you're not breaking down, and you can get back to, and a lot of people can get back to where they were, or almost. So yeah, I don't know, it's such a complicated journey. It's really complicated and it's tough. And some people have a bigger basket of toughness than others, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of that, let's kind of go back to your own cancer journey. And I know it said in your bio you were supporting your wife going through cancer and you had your own cancer journey to deal with. So take us back to kind of when you were diagnosed, what was going on in your life, and how were you diagnosed?
So it was 2021. So, we were still post COVID, everyone, that word that we don't talk about anymore. And, where everything was, I guess that's where that term new normal came around in terms of post COVID. So it was, it was probably around April of 2021, and I was just feeling tired all the time, exhausted. And I was exercising in the gym. I was going to the gym 3 days a week and doing all the right things, lifting heavy. I'm a tall, skinny guy, so me getting muscle is never. I'm never going to show results from being in the gym. But I knew I was getting stronger, and that was important as you age. And I had this lump in the throat that wouldn't go away, and I thought it was a cold. Anyway, long story short, being a male, don't go to the doctor until you really have to. So it was like, I think I need to go and check it out. And it just so happened there was a locum doctor on at that stage, and she had come out being fairly fresh out of training. So she was keen and enthusiastic, which I think was really beneficial for me. So she had a look and went, don't like that. I'm going to book you in for a biopsy. Straight away, it was like, no. So she just, it was great. Whereas probably a more older doctor might say, here, take these and let's see what happens. So anyway, I got booked in for the biopsy, had the biopsy, did a little bit of research online, and thought, yeah, I think this might end up being cancer. So the diagnosis, when they gave me the diagnosis, it was like, oh, okay, that doesn't surprise me. You're not surprised. I went, well, there wasn't much room for what else it could be. So I'm a guy who, as I've been coming through how I talk about, like to go and find things out for myself, but not prejudging, going to doctors' meetings. I know what this is, but it's like, at least I'm prepared for it, rather than you walk in and you get this news that you're completely unprepared for. So the lump was quite large at that stage in my throat, and I was totally against doing any sort of chemo or radiation. I said, no, let's operate on it. They went, we can't, it's too close to the carotid artery. I went, oh,
Wow.
so what are my options? And they went, well, there's really only one. And I went, oh, what do you mean there's only one? And they went, well, you have to do chemo radiation. I said, but isn't there two? And they went, what do you mean? I said, well, I could do nothing. That's an option. And of course, in the medical fraternity, that's not a good thing. And they said, yeah,
Right.
but, and again, it's just because I like to explore options. And they went, yeah, but the problem with that is this lump will keep growing and it'll suffocate you. And it's like, okay, I understand that. So let's go down that chemo rate. So they didn't need to convince me with that being their outcome. So did the chemo radiation, and I don't know. I mean, everyone's journey is different through it, but I guess mine was a little bit more complicated. As you said, my wife had terminal cancer at that stage, so she'd been diagnosed in May of 2020 with gallbladder cancer that then metastasized to ovary cancer, ovarian cancer. So therefore, they gave her at that time, and that was January 2021. She had 6 months to live. So here I was going through my cancer journey,
Sure.
and she potentially, according to the doctors, was not maybe going to live beyond about July, August. So I was like, oh, that would just be the absolute worst. Here I am being flattened from my own cancer treatment and then having her pass. Fortunately, we don't have kids, and so there was just the two of us. And we had a really interesting outlook on life. Again, as I said before, it's about what will happen, what will happen. So fortunately, she didn't. She lasted, strangely enough, because she was, again, fit and strong. And again, like you said earlier, it doesn't seem to matter. Cancer doesn't discriminate who you are, how fit you are, whether you have a good lifestyle, bad lifestyle. It's like it's almost like it goes around a room and goes, I'll pick you and you and you and you to
That's
have
what I
cancer.
feel like sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
let's spin the wheel and who's going to be the lucky one today.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Hunger Games, where they're all standing there and their numbers get called out. And it's a little, I look at it a little, it's probably a little bit dark, but yeah. What's the rhyme or
Nobody
reason to
wants to
getting cancer?
volunteer as tribute,
No,
though.
no one wants to volunteer getting cancer, but some of us are going to get it. And I guess the ones that do get it, a lot of us come out of it in a better space life-wise to then go on and help others, which is what we're about. So finished my treatment, was broken like everybody, but then, and thought just recovery, I would just recover and get better, but I wasn't. And so I had, but like everyone, had that mental aspect, that physical aspect. And so I just set about it in a routine way of what do I need to eat, what do I need to do exercise wise. And pushing your body. It's like, because of my athlete background, I know that you're only going to improve if you push your body a little bit, then let it recover. Push it a bit more, let it recover. And so that's exactly what I did with getting back to how I am now, which is 5 years later. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, you talked about what I said in your bio, is that you talked about the gap and what happens after treatment ends. So, you said you kind of, okay, what do I need to eat? How do I need to exercise? Those kind of things. What about the mental aspect of that, that we talked about earlier, of, feeling like you've fallen off a cliff or
Yeah.
whatever? How did you work through that to then, be able to help people now with that same area and issue?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because the difficulty in coaching people is you don't know how people think. Even though you deal with them one-to-one, you talk with them for a while, you still don't. It takes a long time for most people to end up trusting you to be able to air their inner thoughts, and that's when you can start really working with them and helping them mentally. But so using, as you asked about my own story, in terms of, I just broke it down to, I can only do what I can do here and now. And so, yeah, if you have for those people who are athletes, and it doesn't matter at what level, if you have a training program for a week, that's what you're going to do in that week. I did the same thing for me in my cancer recovery, but I never stuck to it, because as you know, when you're in your cancer recovery, you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'm great, I'm going to go and do stuff. And by lunchtime, you're like, I've just got to lie down again for the next hour. I'm completely shattered. And so it's, again, getting people to listen to their body. And if they haven't achieved what they set out to do that day, it's not a failure. It's just your body's not ready to push through it at that stage. And so it is really, really tricky, that whole mental game. But it is much more about, don't be overwhelmed about tomorrow, the next day, a week, a month down the track. What am I going to be like? Because that starts creating more worry in the body. It's like here and now only. And that's a really hard discipline focus to do. It's like, just think about now. It's about like you and I. All that matters now, we're talking now on this podcast, and whatever else is happening around us, if we're thinking about all those things, we can't focus on what we're talking about here and now. And as humans, we have become really, really good at juggling multiple things at one time. And so that's the biggest thing I help people with, is like, just focus here and now, and work through that. So for high performing men, they're always thinking about the business. And then if it's not the business, then it's like the family, and then financial is always a big thing around that. It's like, you can't think about those things at the moment. They will take care of themselves. This is a period of life where you need to focus on you and just do what's needed now for you. And then the next moment, what's needed now for you. It sounds simple, but it's...
Right. Well, there's a difference between simple and easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's very simple. That doesn't make it easy.
No.
At all. Now, how are you? So your wife was going through terminal cancer, and before you were diagnosed, you were her caregiver. And how did that dynamic change? Or how were you able to kind of do both, go through your own journey while still kind of taking care of her?
I don't know. Again, you just do what you've got to do. I was fortunate. My wife's name was Fern. So Fern was a very capable woman, and somehow she just managed to get by in terms of, and I look back now and I wonder, because when you're in the midst of your own cancer journey, it's like
You're not
you don't
thinking
have
about
enough.
anything else but
You haven't got enough energy for your
Right.
own when you're going through for your own self when you're going through treatment, let alone someone else. And also, because my cancer was throat cancer, I wasn't really eating. I was surviving. Fortunately, I understand nutrition well enough, so I was surviving on making protein drinks and things like that. And any soft
They
food.
wanted to give you a feeding tube, correct?
Like, this is the stubbornness of me. They gave me a feeding tube, much to my protest, but I understand why, because your throat, through the treatment, your throat swells up and you can't swallow and all those sorts of things. So they give you a feeding tube so that at least you can feed yourself. I'm a determined person, and so I wasn't going to use the feeding tube, and actually I didn't need to. And part of that comes back to my philosophy around how the body is. The body is something that continually recovers and regenerates. And so I thought about this and thought, well, the throat is just predominantly a whole lot of muscle sitting in there. And so if we don't use them properly for 8 weeks, of course they're going to lose their elasticity and strength in there, and you aren't going to be able to swallow. So it was like, and I have a fairly high pain threshold too. So I made sure every day I was drinking these protein drinks and any soft food that I could possibly have. I mean, it was difficult. And again, it comes back to that focus. All I could do at that moment when eating was focus on eating, because if I tried to think about anything else, my throat would close because the muscles weren't reacting properly. And so I had to really focus. Even drinking, sometimes you'd start drinking, and everyone who's listening who's had throat cancer will know, you start drinking and suddenly the throat closes and it comes back out your nose. Sorry for that visual, but it's those sorts of things. So whereas now I'm normal. I mean, yes, I'm sipping water while I'm talking to you because I don't quite have enough saliva, but that is the only lingering effect I have from my treatment. So I don't know. We just got through somehow. I don't recall. They were, as you will know with your own treatment, the hazy days. One day just rolls into another. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be at the clinic at 11 o'clock today. It's now 10 o'clock. I better go. Sort of. And that's pretty much. So I'm not sure. Not sure how I did that, but afterwards I learned lots watching her navigate her treatment, well, not treatment because hers was terminal, but how she navigated how she was. And I learned a lot from that going through my journey as well. And so hence, I guess it ended me in a really good position that I have that understanding of knowledge, what it's like for a carer, and also what it's like as someone going through cancer themselves. So in an unusual, I guess, position to be in.
Well, I would imagine you kind of took turns. When you were having a really bad day, she took care of you and vice versa. And you just hope that you're not both having really bad days on the same day.
And if you are, it's like, the sun's going to rise tomorrow, and let's just get through it the
We're
best we
both just going
can.
to lay here and hope for sleep, and then tomorrow will be a different day.
And we have a two-storied house, and so we had set her bed downstairs just because it was easy for her. I mean, she was very fit and agile. We live in a property that's up a steepish sort of driveway, about, on metrics, I was going to say about 150 meters. So I don't know, 100 yards maybe. And so when hospice would come to visit her, and I'd say, "So Fern, what have you done today?" And she said, "I've walked the driveway twice." And their eyeballs would just about fall out of the sockets. They're like, you've walked up, we wouldn't even try and walk up that. And it's like, and so you start to get an understanding of how people approach this. It's like when you're going through treatment or you're terminal, they want to wrap you in kid gloves. And I get that to a point, but the more you do that, the harder it is to come out of and recover at the other end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I interviewed a gentleman in the UK who said, and I don't know if you have anything like that over there, that they have a program in several hospitals there called prehab. And it's a 6-week program that they put a lot of cancer patients through between diagnosis and the start of treatment. So it's to strengthen them and get them in as good of condition as they can before treatment starts. Because, I mean, all the evidence is out there that the healthier you are, the stronger you are before you go into surgery, before you come into any kind of treatment, the outcomes are going to be better and recovery will be faster. And
Absolutely.
I wish they would do that here in the US. I think here in the US, they want to get you into treatment as quickly as possible. Maybe before you change your mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's something that people still don't really understand. It's, I've been diagnosed and my world is coming to an end and I'm just going to lay here on the couch until my treatment is done.
Yeah.
And then their recovery takes even longer.
Yeah, you're so right. So no, I'm not aware of any of that
Like it seems to be
pre-treatment.
all over the world. This is fantastic.
Yeah, no, well, it's not here. I mean, I know there's lots of discussion happening now around exercise during treatment, but I think about that and go, really? I mean, I was fortunate. I mean, I only had throat cancer, and so it wasn't so bad. And it's
Only?
well, people have, again, it's relative, isn't it? And I guess that's the way that I view it. It's only throat cancer. It's like, hey, I'm lucky I've come out of it. And anyway, but I think about this. I couldn't exercise during. I mean, I understand exercise at a very high level. I mean, I was fortunate in my 20s I was a cyclist, or still am now, and so I raced at international world level. So I understand high level competition, what you have to do to push your body. During my treatment, I couldn't. Getting out of bed, walking down the stairs. Yes, I could walk partway down the driveway, but it was tough, and so I'm not sure that exercise during treatment, the concept's good, but what if you haven't exercised ever in your life? Suddenly, your body's being hammered by radiation or toxic chemicals. Oh, and by the way, we want you to exercise. Huh? So that's, I mean, it's fantastic. In terms of, I would encourage anybody that if you're being diagnosed with cancer, is like, as soon as you can, start doing strength work, whatever you can, put some weight on. If you need to put weight on if you aren't a particularly excessive person. I'm not quite sure what, but for example, with again, it's in kgs, that doesn't help. But I managed to put on, again, I thought about this. I thought and the research that I'm gonna lose weight through my treatment because I'm not going to be eating properly. So I only weigh in at around 83 kgs. Sorry, I don't know what that is in
That's
pounds.
okay. Don't worry about it.
And so I managed to put on about 5 kgs prior to my treatment. There was sort of 6 weeks from being diagnosed to when I started treatment. But during the 8 weeks of treatment, because of not eating, my weight went down to 76 kg. So, I was that was skinny, and that takes a lot to, again, you have to really focus to put that back on. And you, as you well know, with your exercise background, you predominantly lose muscle first, and that's the stuff that is so important for us to recover with. So yeah, absolutely. If you can do strength work prior to starting treatment, fantastic. Even better, start strength work now.
Right.
Wherever you are in life, just do it. There's so much evidence that shows it's really, really important. But
it is so important for so many things, not just this. And but I do want to put my own spin on exercising during treatment.
Yeah, please.
And we've talked several times, and everybody knows that everybody's journey is unique. Everybody's journey is individual. And some people have better days than others. There are days where you're feeling really good. And then there are days where you're feeling really, really bad. And I think that to take advantage of the days when you're feeling really, really good and do something. And to me, I tell people just go for a walk.
Absolutely.
Exercise is the number one remedy for fatigue as a whole. And I'm not talking about going to the gym and lifting weights on your good days, but just go for a walk and get some movement in your body. It helps you recover quicker in between treatments. It helps the treatments work better and recovery at the end. So I wouldn't say don't do anything during treatment, but you, like we've talked several times, you got to listen to your body and what your body wants, what your body needs. Don't use treatment as an excuse to not do anything if you can, because not everybody is miserable every single day of their treatment journey, and just take advantage of those days when you are feeling better to do at least something.
I concur entirely, Melissa. I mean, I missed that point. Yeah, I mean, you should moving all the time, because again, we have, particularly but even radiation sits in the body, but toxic chemicals from your chemotherapy and even immunotherapy, the body needs movement to help clear the system and just get things working. Plus, it also, you feel better. You might come back more tired, but actually you're just in a different environment, even if it's just outside and walking around the house or walking around the block where your apartment is or something like that. Just you're so right. Just move.
Well, and how healing nature is in general. And if you can find a park or a trail or something where there are trees or bushes or something that is nature filled, then that can aid in the healing process too. I remember when I was going through my treatments and people would, what can I do for you? Can I bring you a meal? Can I, do this or do that? And my husband was an amazing caregiver. He really took care of everything. And my request of everybody that asked was, come over, go for a walk with me. That way we get to spend time together, just the two of us or the three of us or whatever. We're out in nature, we're getting movement, and we're connecting, and that's good healing for everybody.
Totally. I'm really fortunate, or when Fern was around, really fortunate. We live up in New Zealand is a very bushy, green country, and so it's easy to be near trees and parks all the time. I mean, it's same in the US. You've got places like that as well, but we live up in I guess you'd call it the hills, and so there's lots of trees and nature around us, and we look across it all of the time, you just get so used to it, you forget about that. And then I go down into the into the CBD area, and it's like, how do people survive? So I get it. That's absolutely right. I mean, getting out into nature, and even if you just go to a park and sit on a park bench and just sit there in a little bit of sunshine and warmth and something different. Yeah, any of those things are so beneficial.
And how far are you from the ocean?
Well, I can see the ocean from the house.
Oh,
Yeah.
so jealous.
But you think about New Zealand. It's a very long, skinny country. So the closest point between the two oceans, the Pacific and I should know this, the Indian, I think it is. Anyway, is about 3, maybe 2 miles. But that's these little estuaries almost join up. You could put a little rowboat down them, but it's talked about how close the oceans are to each other. But anywhere in New Zealand, you're only a couple of hours by car generally from the ocean.
I mean, you live on a big island, right?
It pretty much is. I mean, it's the place to be at the moment. There's lots of talk on the internet about how wonderful and safe New Zealand is, but it's like any other country. We have challenges and things like that, but I think it's a little bit like when you're going through your cancer journey. When you live in a place that is beautiful, you forget how wonderful it is until you go somewhere else. And it's exactly the same with your cancer treatment. When you're in the midst of it, you're like, this sucks, it's horrible, and it's never going to be any better. But actually, it does get better. It's like it's our perspectives that are all skewed.
Always.
Yeah.
Perspective is everything, right?
And when you've just got a common cold, your perspective goes out the window. It's like, I'm grumpy, and particularly for us males, the world is falling down for us.
Flu.
Yeah, exactly. And you're better, and it's like, I don't even remember those days. You get reminded, look, you were grumpy, and it's like, no, I wasn't. I was fine. And it's that multiplied many times particularly when we come out of treatment as well.
Well, and I heard something, and I don't know, I guess it's probably just an analogy kind of thing, that if you put 20 people around a fire and everybody wrote down their problems, their health issues, whatever, not a fire, but into a bucket, and you're asked to pick one out of that bucket, that pretty much everybody would pick their own, because at least it's the devil you know.
Yeah.
And you can always find somebody who's got it worse off than you do. Even if you think you've got it worse than anything, there's always going to be somebody out there that's got it worse than you do, to help you to feel grateful for what you do have.
It's such a vital point. I mean, because it was when I was going through my treatment, and even afterwards, we purposely didn't tell my mother. My mother lives in Australia, and we didn't tell, because she was concerned enough about Fern and what was going to happen to Fern. So then to go and say, hey, by the way, I've got cancer as well, that would just devastate her world. So she didn't need to know those sorts of things. But I know, talking to people through my journey, and they were like, oh, so what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I've got cancer, Fern's got cancer, she's terminal. And they'll be like horrified and shocked. And it's like, it's okay. It's like, and I guess that perspective on life is really, really important as well. And that's one of the key things that I provide for men at High Performing, is to be able to give them some perspective on life. Because for many of them, getting cancer, being deemed for a period of time incapable of doing what they were capable of doing beforehand, and then the pathway forward looking pretty dark, because it's hard to see. When you're in those dark times of recovery, it's hard to see that you're going to come back and be okay again. And so it's like talking through what I went through, what it's like, where they're at, what did they do beforehand. Let's overlay to what that can be like in the future. And again, with everything and everybody is trainable to a point. And so much of that comes from where you were before you came into cancer, and not just about physical, but your mental and your overall life and those sorts of things. And I guess the biggest thing I see people, well, the two biggest traps I see people doing after cancer that I work with is doing nothing and giving up. And so just things like, this is it. This is all it's ever going to be. So I'm just back on the treadmill. I just go to work and I forget I ever had cancer, come back. Yeah, I'm tired, but I don't care, blah, blah, all those sorts of things. That's just in my book's pathway to doom. You need to actually start doing things for yourself. And the other one is these high-performing people who just push all the time and don't give their body any chance to recover. So it is that balance, pushing yourself, and then knowing when to back off, and pushing again and knowing when to back off. And that can be around physical, it's the mental aspect, it's also around food as well. Nutrition is such a big thing to helping for your recovery. And there's a lot of talk around, don't eat this, it's not good for you, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't. I mean, everything is in moderation is okay as food. I mean, and that's what I talk with my clients. It's like you've got enough cognitive load happening with you at the moment to then sort of throw the whole food aspect about what should I eat versus what shouldn't I eat. That's just another layer of complexity at the moment. Just try and eat good quality food, stay away from more processed food, but actually eat processed food if that's the only thing you've got available, because that's better than no food for your body. And so it's again that balancing aspect, and I was going to say being sensible, but it's a little bit like common sense, isn't it? Common sense to somebody is really aware, really obvious. To some other people it's not. So that's part of the journey that I take people on is being a bit more aware of where they're at and working through those roadblocks that we put in our own way.
And everybody is unique and has individual journeys, but there are, I guess, commonalities in all of us on a cancer journey. Just the little things
Totally.
to kind of keep us going and get us through recovery and back to. Now, do most of your clients end up back at that or close to that same high performance level, or is there kind of a scale?
It's a scale. That's a hard question to answer because you don't ever stop recovering. I mean, the body. There's two things happening though. You're trying to recover from cancer, but also we're getting older, and so we're fighting that age factor, and that's just real for all of us. So as we age, the body starts having different issues and challenges and those sorts of things. But that happens.
Ignore it.
Yeah, they ignore it, but that happens more gradually. I just move in this glass. We have sunshine come out, and I've got reflection. And then the other level is like you can continue. It's again, I use the analogy of an athlete because it's much easier for people to understand. You look at world champions and in any sport, they keep continually training, hoping that they're going to get better. So therefore, you bring that back into everyday life. Why can't that be the same? You're not at that level, but your body can constantly be improved and push that little bit more. And again, it comes back to balance. What else is going on in your life? Where are you at in life? What do you need? What do you want to achieve? So you're right, there is a scale. Some people get back to a point where they go, okay, that's okay, but they leave, I guess, leave me, is that the right term? Yeah, leave me or leave the program with better understanding of where they're at and what they can do. And so it becomes a choice rather than I don't know what to do, I don't have any choice in this. They realize that we have choices every single day, every moment we can make a choice. The easiest one is you wake up in the morning, we'll wake up and go, I cannot be bothered getting out of bed this morning. Fine. But there's consequences. Which one do you want to take? Get out of bed, you can do things, or you can stay in bed. And so again, I try to break things down into very simple, easy to understand facets. So then, because we are overloaded when we've come out of our cancer journey, and so if you have easy things to anchor for people, I find that they tend to do them and follow them up more frequently than if you give them a whole bunch of complex things, which might sound great, but if they don't do anything, this simplicity is much better. And I guess the last thing I'd focus on is what they do leave the program with is learning to trust their body again. Because that's one of the biggest things that I see in most cancer survivors is the lack of trust we have in our body. It's a bit like well, our body let us down because it got cancer. Well, that's not true, but that's often how we paint it. And so therefore, can I trust it, just as you said before, can I trust it to not get cancer again? Well, you may or may not, but if you live life thinking I might get cancer again, it's not going to be much of a life. So you may as well learn to trust your body again, go with it, provide your body everything it needs and the mind, and enjoy life while we're here.
And look at that as an opportunity to live each day to the fullest, because you don't know how many you have left.
Exactly.
Which is true for everyone.
That's it.
I mean, we could walk outside and get hit by a bus tomorrow, and that's the same probability as getting cancer.
It's one of my favorite little sayings. It's a terrible thing, we could get hit by a bus tomorrow. You don't know, and it's like, but it's so true. I mean, and I think COVID helped a lot of people get over that as well. It's a bit like, gosh, we never saw this coming, and so people did all this, what was it called, about traveling, not travel catch up, but something like that, where the world went crazy and everyone was traveling because for various periods of time in different countries, you couldn't travel. And so we all felt trapped. So something's like, we've got freedom, we can go traveling. It's a little bit like coming out of cancer recovery is the same as suddenly that's how we should look at it. It's like, wow, we're clear. Let's get on with life and do things, and we can improve and go forth and have fun. And enjoy, as you said, enjoy life.
Enjoy life. Enjoy life. Nobody gets out of it alive. So
No.
enjoy what you got. All right, Michael, where can people find you? If people want more information about you, if they want to contact you, if they want more information about your program, what's the best way for people to find you?
So I sit on LinkedIn. I imagine you will drop the LinkedIn
I'll put it all in the show
in there. So I'm in LinkedIn under my name, but of course LinkedIn's a hard place to find people. And then also I'm pretty simple around these things. I have a website called epicwellbeing.co.
C-O, no M, right?
Correct. The M was taken. So it was like, and I didn't want to stick to New Zealand. So it's just a .co because that makes more sense. So they're the two places that people can find me in. And then if they want to contact me directly through the website, I've got a contact form and on there, and we can have a conversation. And I'm more than happy just to have conversations with people to help them where they're at and establish. It doesn't have to be, hey, I only talk with people who are interested in working with me, because when you go through this journey, you want to help people.
Right.
And that's what it's all about, is giving back in life.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Michael. This was such a great conversation, and so many people need to hear this and know that you can still have the great life on the other side.
You can have a great life, full stop. It's again comes back to perspective. But
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yes, perspective. Not even on the other side, but even through the journey. I love that.
And thanks for the engaging conversation, and also thank you for all the great work you do in helping to get the discussion around cancer out there, because it needs to be talked about so much more. For those that are listening to this, they'll either be connected to the community. They know it is a great community. But for those who don't have cancer, don't understand it, it's almost sometimes they treat you like you have a communicable disease, which is kind of crazy. And as we know, it's not like that. So well done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk again soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Ian.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.